Okay, hello and welcome to a tarot video. Now, for those of you who have been a part of my channel so far, or thus far, we have been talking about tarot and kind of learning the thought kind of out of the box, so to speak. And so for the purpose of my Tarot Tuesday videos, so that's every other Tuesday, we'll talk about some kind of something in relation to the tarot. I'll probably be working with the Rider-Waite-Smith deck or a Marseille. I won't use the Thoth because every other Thursday, we're going to be studying with that deck. So for the purpose of this Tarot Tuesday video, we're going to be doing this lovely rendition I have right here of the Rider-Waite-Smith. Okay, and I got my coffee here. And today, as you can tell from the name of this video, we're going to be talking about numerology. But what I'm going to do is, y'all know me, I like to do things outside of the box. So, I have this, I had studied numerology before I even studied the tarot, okay? So, numerology has been a part of a really big study tool for me for a while. And so what I have essentially done here is I've taken this tarot and mapped it out from ace to 10. Okay. Usually usually when you think about numerology, you think of it in terms of the major arcana. But because I'm only going to go through one, which is the ace, to the tens, okay, we might talk about more numbers later on down the road, but for this video, we're only going 1 through 10. And I'm going to show you the cards as we go. But what I'm going to do is, like I said, we're going to do this outside of the box, okay? So I'm going to tell you what the numbers mean just in terms of numerology, okay? Again, to clarify, numerology is the study of numbers, okay? And we're going to look at this in terms of like, if you were to look up just numerology alone, like take tarot out of it, what these books and reference materials renditions of the numbers are, and then what I'm going to do is plug those definitions, so to speak, into the tarot meanings and see what we come up with, okay? Like I said, this is kind of far-fetched, just out of the box. There are probably a lot of books and resource materials out there like for numerology and tarot together, but I just wanted to plug in like these couple of sentences per number, and then we'll see if we can kind of associate them with the card meanings, okay? Or see if we can make up our own, okay? So we could think of this as kind of like a learning tool almost, like learn the tarot all over again, like scratch everything you know and let's start from zero. And that's where we're going to start today. So 0. This would be none of these cards, okay? That's none of these cards. But I do very much believe in the minor arcana along kind of like the major arcana and like a journey, okay? But these are journeys in suit form. So like the minor or the major arcana, you start at the Fool, and then at the World card, you kind of turn around and you're the Fool again, okay? It's a cycle. But in those are major things in life. And these are minor things in life, right? It's starting to make sense here. So 0, okay, before the aces. Now, we're going to get to the aces in a minute about it being kind of the beginning and the all in a minute. But before the aces, and I want to think about this in terms of tarot too. Think about before, what would be before this? What would be before the hand comes out? Okay? That's kind of how I want to look at the 0. Timelessness, super consciousness, eternity, and absolute freedom. Linked to the shape of an egg, it suggests potential yet to be realized. Okay? So if we think about the 0 for a second, and that's before all of this happens, that's fascinating. It says a potential yet to be realized. So in this, we are just realizing the potential. I like how that went. Okay, let's keep going. The aces are essentially number ones. in my opinion, and I believe a lot of people's opinion in the tarot community. So what do we, here's some keywords, and then like I said, I'm only giving you 1 or 2 sentences to plug in for each number. So the 1, that would be individuality, solitude, or your ego in a psychological sense, a need for action, a beginning of something, conscious mind and willpower. Okay, so like I said, this is the beginning of the cycle. So the 0 was the before. We have not realized consciousness or our potential yet, but that is even there. And with the aces, this is the beginning of us, okay? Us as the studier, us as the tarot reader. It's or us in a querent sense, okay? But, like I said, for the purpose of this video, the aces are that potential that we are just realizing. So these are our hands, and they're coming out to, that's the initial grasp of all the suits. So for this, and it said willpower, right? So this would be, we're grasping the potential of our individuality in the wands. So that would be what we talk about, the wands being the fire and the passion, right? That the drive we have to go out and do the day-to-day. The drive. Our drive to do it and get it done. Our drive to do the laundry. Okay? That's what this is. That's the drive. And we have come out and we have grasped the wand so that we can go do the laundry. That's what this is. The beginning of it. Okay? I might keep using the laundry metaphor. Okay. And then this one, we're grasping our money. Okay? We've just started on the journey of the work that's involved to make the money. We're realizing our own potential when it comes to the earthly plane of existence. Okay? Like, almost like this right here, this little garden is our goal. And we've just realized that as our goal. So we've come out and clutched this as a way of setting that goal into motion. Okay? Again, with cycles. Now with this, the cups are emotions, right? Isn't this a beautiful, I love the little lily pads here. I mean, Pamela Coleman Smith just had it going on. And so for the purpose of this, okay, we're coming out and we're grasping the cups of, this 1 cup of emotion, or our emotions. So this would be the very beginning of us, that feeling, okay? That feeling that we get, that we, on this journey, okay? And whatever feeling it is that we are feeling at that time, or that we are about to feel, right? That is the initial stage of us grasping and getting a handle on our emotions. I believe that's what this is saying, okay? In terms of numerology, people. Now, the sword suit. Now look, all of these are grasping, right? And she's kind of passive with this. She's kind of passive with this. These two, they're gripping it, right? Not in a really, really big way, but they're grasp. They're actual grasps instead of these. So what does that say with the swords, right? And we think of the swords as the air suit, so that's the mental, okay? So we've got the drive to do what we've got to do, and then we've got to actually do the work, know we have to do the work, and then know how we feel about whatever we're doing. Then we have to really put thought into it. So this would be that initial thought that we have, okay? So like all of this is just this doing so much in just this 1 card when it's in terms of your individuation, okay? Your individuation with what? With your thoughts, keeping them together, starting the cycle, okay? Okay, that was the ones. Now we're going to put these up here, and we're going to move on. I hope this isn't going to be a long video. Okay, the 2s. Look how pretty these are. I love them in order like this. I love taking the tarot, or putting the tarot in order and then reshuffling it. It's like starting it all anew. Okay, so the 2s. Automatically, we think of duality, right? Now, I would say yin and yang, okay? But just for some, FYI, the Chinese don't actually say yin and yang. They say yin yang because they're like this. That's one circle, right? The yin yang is one circle. Just like our masculine energy and our feminine energy are two sides of one magical piece of paper. I'll say that in another video. So, that is duality. So it's yin yang, duality. It's like a dialogue. So it's an actual interaction between the unconscious and the conscious mind. That's what numerology says it is. The twos. So if it is an interaction between your unconscious and your conscious mind, then what does that say about this? Like they're interacting, but this is an interaction in an emotional level, right? So if you think, can I have an emotional interaction with myself? Maybe, okay? But this wants you to know that you're interacting at an emotional level with someone else, okay? That's my opinion. These are my opinion, folks. And these people are alone. So that's kind of powerful, and that's a powerful dynamic to think about, because what is he doing, right? So we talked about this, the wands being will, right? And the drive, like go, 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 passion, right? And so if he is standing in between these two wands, but it's a fight, not really a fight, it's a dialogue between your unconscious and your conscious mind. So he's trying to figure out where to send his drive, okay? Think of the Chariot card. That's kind of how I think of this card. He has the drive and he has the will, but he kind of needs to know where to go with it. And that's what he's fighting in this, between his conscious and his unconscious mind. And what about him? He's an actual juggler. He is juggling both. So it's an interaction in an infinity way, okay? So this is a constant interaction between these two earthly things that you're thinking. Now in the Thoth deck, he used an Ouroboros snake, like the snake in an infinity sign, with the two pentacles in between. And he Thoth believed that it was like the twos are an interaction, yes, but and so this would be the earthly. So you have two things, like say in a job sense, right? So a job, like I was saying again, like laundry, right? Anything that you're doing on your day-to-day in your earthly plane, that you're juggling them. So there is an interaction there between the two, but that's in infinity. It's something that's always going to be there. The two things are always going to be the constant, and then you just kind of have to figure out which one to do now and which one to do later. That's kind of how I think of this card in terms of numerology. Now look at her. This is kind of scary, right? She's blind and she kind of looks like she's in a fighting pose, but she's not standing up, so she's not got that warrior aspect, and it's nighttime. So what does that say? If this is duality and a dialogue and an interaction between your unconscious and your conscious mind, what might that say for this? Now, if this is air and this is thought, then she's battling two thoughts. So if he was battling like actual things he has to do in a day-to-day life, okay, he's the like interacting with someone else. He's interacting in a place of needing to know where his drive is. So she, okay, is trying to decide between two thoughts or two thought patterns, two voices of reasoning within her own self, right? So that's how, okay, and just we're clarifying here. This is just how we're mapping out how to use numerology with tarot, okay? The threes. All right, now the threes is the Greeks' perfect number. I've read that in a lot of reference material. It's the union of mind, body, spirit, life, freedom, vitality, and inner strength. Okay, so this could be any triangle, right? So any triangle where you have 3 points, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this could be mind, body, spirit. This could be life, freedom, vitality, right? Past, present, future. Any of a triad, right? So what are the triads here? Okay, his is 3 wands. Now before it was the drive was going to go this way, but he's like, wait a minute. I have 3 things that I'm juggling now. That's what I think about this card. He's like, I have the drive, but I I need to remember my past, and I need to remember where I'm at right now. But then I also see this hand is only on one. So it's almost, and this one's behind him. So it's like, what if this is past, present, future? What if this is, I need to have, know where I've been, know where I am, and then know where I'm going. That's a pretty big thought for this card. Now, what about this? There's three people, there's three pentacles up here, right? And he's working and he's holding kind of like the instruction booklet. So I always thought of this as asking for help, right? But what if this is, again, what if he is, they are working with him in a, like it said, inner strength, right? And it says the triangle itself is a symbol of creative force. And if this is a creating and a work card, right? And he's on his earthly plane, okay? This is the earth suit. So if you think about that for a second and think, well, maybe he's in his creative force, right? And he's trying to keep in the circle. But he needs to know to plug them into the circle as well. Have them be two of the other dots. Don't just do the work yourself. Include two other people, for lack of a better way to incorporate numerology into that card. So then here, this is even more interactions, right? Again, talked about this being an emotion suit, right? Diving down, really understanding what you're feeling in the moment, in your life. So if that's what this is, how do we incorporate past, present, and future? Well, this could kind of be the triple goddess, and she's drinking with herself. Or we could think of this as terms of past, present, future. Again, kind of like the triple goddess. They're in a triangle, right? So is this in an interaction in an emotional way, where we're trying to expand our consciousness, so to speak? Because on an emotional level, because like I said, in terms of human interaction, we're wanting to expand flower of lifestyle here. So what if that's what this is saying? It's pretty profound. Okay, this one. This looks so dreary and really scary, doesn't it? But if we thought of this in terms of, again, like it said, it was a union of a triad of something. And if this is a mentality suit, okay, mental, this is just almost like this is mental instability, right? Or three choices that you have to go through. And the three choices are in your brain, they're in your mind. And you have to map that out, kind of like he's doing over here. So this could be a thought from your past, a thought from your future, and a thought from now. Or this could be a union of mind, body, and spirit, and you have to intersect those in your and bring that into your whole self and integrate all three into your whole heart for you to expand. Okay, we're always trying to expand, people. Okay, moving on. Okay, we're trying to keep things organized here. All right, the Force. Turn the page. Now, we know, especially if you look in terms of like the Marseille decks, the fours are really stable. So I'm going to read what I wrote about the fours in terms of numerology here. Stability, inadaptability, practicality, encompassing the essence of the world, 4 points of a compass, seasons, elements, father, mother, son, daughter. Ooh, we could look at this in terms of, let's put what the court cards would be in these particular suits, right? We could even do that, but we're not going to because there are court cards in the deck. So I'm just saying, so if this was like stability, right? Some of these don't look really stable. We'll get to that. But it says stability, right? So that kind of looks like what this is. That's really stable. It's holding up this net, right? Some people have heard this called like an actual celebration. What are they celebrating? The drive that they have, right? They've accomplished something, or they think they've accomplished something, or they think they have enough stability to get something accomplished. That's what they're celebrating in this card, okay? Because the wands are about the willpower and the drive it takes to get something done. So they're celebrating the fact that they've finally gotten it. They've finally gotten some stability in their lives to where they can move forward. Now he he doesn't look very stable. He looks very in, right? I kind of always thought of him as this, he's a hoarder, right? And not in always a money sense. You can hoard a whole bunch of stuff. But if we thought about this in terms of stability, it doesn't just say stability. What was the second word I said? Inadaptability, which means he's gotten to a place of stability, but then once he's gotten there, he's forgotten how to be flexible. He's completely forgotten how to be flexible again. And that's what this is. Don't let the stability that you find in your day-to-day life, don't let that become too concrete. We still need to be able, as humans, to be able to go with the flow sometimes. And that's what I think that card is trying to say. And look at him. Okay, I always, like I said, I'm trying to put new meanings on here. I always thought of him as this, he's bored. He's bored with what he has. He's trying to get new, but it's just not working, right? Let's move these in so we can all see. But if we thought of this in terms of, again, inadaptability, right? So he has all these great, he's got this emotional state that's really stable, right? But then he might have this one emotion that's just kind of overtaking, right? And that emotion is on his face. So maybe that emotion is sadness in this, okay? Or whatever emotion is kind of outweighing these. So it's like you're pretty balanced, right? You're pretty balanced even with the 3. So say you're pretty balanced emotionally, but then you've got one that's kind of just stuck and you can't seem to get out of it. So that could be a form of adaptability with that as well. Okay, this just looks like a wake. Not a funeral, but a wake. And like they're sitting there and, he's very much dead because this is a statue, okay? And if we thought about that in terms of practicality or encompassing the essence of the world, okay? Of the world, 4 points. Okay? So think like seasons and elements and all that. Then what does this mean in terms of thought? Right? In terms of your thinking and your mentality. What does this mean? Well, obviously the picture shows that you are just like you're too stuck in your thought reasoning. You're not able to go with the flow like we were talking about in these. So we're not going with the flow here. So we may be stable, we might be celebrating our stability, we might be hoarding our stability and not going with the flow. So I think that's very much what is going on here. They're stable, right, in their lives or in their mentality, in their thought patterns. But it could seem like you need to step back from that, okay? Be able to kind of, don't be too set in the ways that you think out things. And I think that that's a great way to look. Okay, again, we're trying to go kind of fast with this because I'm only giving you, this is just a breakdown, people. Okay, the 5s. Now, I think of this, if you thought of this in terms of shapes, like if we thought of that about this in terms of just shapes alone, this would be like a star shape, or like a hexagram almost. But in terms of numerology, this is action. This is a bold nature. The 5 human senses, okay? So these could be all 5 senses in one of these cards. Battling it out, like in this, or taking some away, taking some senses away, whatever, okay? It means rashness, inconsistency, striving to transcend earthly limitations, to link oneself between heaven and earth, okay? So we're taking the stability of the 4, okay, the square of the 4, and we're expanding a little bit, and we're able to do that. But in the terms, and we're trying to expand in a rush. We're trying to expand in a bold way. And maybe that's not going to be what we need to do, as we can see in a lot of these. So with this one, right? Again, we're talking willpower. We're talking passion here, okay? In just terms of the doing of something. So if this is all these things fighting, okay, then if you think about they're trying to make that star shape or that hexagon shape, and they can't get it right. Why can't they get it right? Because they're trying too hard. They're trying all of these ways and they just can't get it. But instead of stepping back from the doing of the work and just saying, okay, wait a minute. We're working really hard, but it's not working right now. And so we need to step back and kind of revisit it when it's kind of like, remember in like when you're studying and you get to that place where you're like, okay, my brain is fried. Okay, we'll talk more about that here. But my brain is fried and I need to step back from it. And then when I revisit it, maybe it'll come back to me. Okay, or maybe it'll set better with me. And that's kind of how I think of this. Now this just looks like desolation. Straight up desolation. But if we think of this in terms of they're about to go in the church, right? Or they've just seen the light from the church and they feel that hope, right? We don't know. Okay? This has always been kind of a weird image for me because I do, think of the tarot in terms of more than just the pictorial key. I think of this in terms of like this is an archetypal situation or this is numerology, right? So all the things that we have to do this with for tarot, I don't know. This image never, I try really hard with this. I do this with this image. And so if this is a bold something that they've done, what have they done? They're on their earthly plane, okay? So this is pentacles, right? So this is the work. This is their, like it could be your job, right? It could be something that you're doing in your creative life, okay? Something that you're doing that you think you have to keep going, right? That's this little thing right here, because this kind of looks like the Marseille. So you've done all this work, but then you have to, it's like you have to try that one more thing. Let's try this one more thing, and then that's the thing that kind of like in film, you think like, okay, well, I just need to do this one more thing. I just got to do this. And then that's the thing that's just going to send you into this. That one thing, that's just one step, more that you have to do is going to send you into this desolate place, right? Okay, moving on. This. Now, he looks very contrite, right? And there's a lot of cups being spilled, but there's some behind him. They're behind him. Remember, we were kind of talking about the past, right? So if we thought of this in terms of action or bold nature, he's not doing anything bold. Now, if we thought of it in bold, like something bold that you did, then mentally, maybe he did this to himself. He's turned those over him, he was like, forget that. I don't need those. This very much kind of seems like a shadow card almost. If you think about this in terms of you eradicating the stuff that's in the abyss that you think is insignificant, then what does Jung call that? He calls that the shadow. You're shoving stuff into your shadow right here. But you're in doing that, it's like you're going to eradicate these too because you've just completely forgotten these. So when doing the work, we have to be mindful, right? With dealing with our emotions, and especially in terms of your emotional state. Okay, so if we think about this in terms of your emotions, right, then that means that these are spilling out everywhere. So again, like with the fours, that's that one emotion, but you've let it get so far that others are starting to bleed out too. Right? And that's not serving you, because you're going to keep going and you're going to think this is right. You're going to forget that these are here, right? So that can be in terms of putting the fives with this card. Now this, he looks very sinister, okay? He looks very, I've stolen your swords, okay? But if we think of this in terms of action, right? And this is thought, right? So this is mentality, mental, and air, okay? And if we think of this in terms of rashness, okay, because it says action, bold nature, rashness, even inconsistency. So it's like, okay, well, this guy, he looks sad in the background, and then he doesn't look like anything. We can't see their faces. Maybe that's a point here. We can't see their faces. And the fact that he doesn't have all the swords, right? Again, like with this, He thinks he's got it. He thinks he's stable. Maybe he thought he was stable, but he took it one step farther. He was like, you know what? I've got this. My mentality is on point. Da 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 da. And what that did was that caused, him to lose out on these relationships, these friendships, because he was just so stuck in his mindset, and he thought he had the stability of the force, but then that kind of led to some bold thinking on his part that ultimately led to some sort of demise. Okay? All right, let's keep going, because this is so fun. We're putting new things on the tarot, people. Okay. The sixes. Now, I love this because we could think of this in terms of two triangles, right? Two sets of threes. We could think of all kinds of things. But this, in my numerology resources, it says cooperation, balance, tranquility, amplification of the three. See? Symbol of creation. Okay? Think of that in terms of 6 days to create. Now, the last day was a rest day, so that doesn't count. And psychic intuition. So this could be good versus evil, or spiritual versus the material. That's a really cool way to think of it. Let's put that in terms of this. Okay. Now, we could think of this in terms of like a victory. We think of that in terms of we've gotten somewhere with our willpower and we're victorious. Like, we actually did get up and do the laundry. This is us doing the laundry, but us feeling that sense of, or having that sense of almost like valor, maybe. Like we know and we are and have that sense of victory because we've put forth the effort. Okay, so we've been cooperative, we've had the balance from the fours, we've gotten over what we did manage to make the shape with the sticks in the fives, and so we've gotten to a place of tranquility with that. Okay, so this very much could be victory in that sense. All right, now him. I think of him as this. This is, again, it can kind of be a weird image because he's giving money to what look like desolate people. Okay, are these the people from the fives? Are these the same people? Is he the guy with a broken leg? Like, we don't know. But if we thought of it in terms of a cycle, and it is these people, and they found someone to kind of help them out, then that's a great feeling, right? That they've gotten to a place where they've just worked, and they could not, and they did have that one thing that they needed to do, but it kind of sent them over the edge. But they are still able to have that sense of cooperation in the workplace or with the people that they value in their lives. That could be what this means, right? That they have gotten to him, and he's not only giving back to them in terms of like relationship / friendship, he's given back to them. He could be giving back to them in more than that. He could be giving back to them in teaching them something. Like, look, it was that last thing that you did that really set you ablaze, or this company ablaze, or whatever, and this is what you could have done in that situation. He could be teaching them, and we just see it in terms of coins. He could be teaching them something about the work. So that's a cool way to look at that. Now, I love this card. Okay, they very much look gnome-like with these weird outfits, but if we think of this in a nostalgic way, so I always had thought of this as the inner child card, right? He is remembering his inner child. They just don't look like the same children, so that's kind of a weird way for me to have gone with that, but I always did. But if we think of this in terms of emotions, right, and these are children, then that's an innocence, and we have to get back to that. So that's reteaching ourselves, because I do think that if this is about cooperation and tranquility, then sometimes we have to completely relearn what we think we know. And with our emotions, sometimes we kind of feel like we may start over a little bit. Like we really kind of need to repot all of our plants, so to speak. Because otherwise, if we are trying to balance the good versus the evil, and we've been balanced and we've done the work, let's look at this. right? So if the guy in the fives looks like this, look at this. You see this precipice here? What if that's right there? Okay? So he is essentially gone through all these emotions. He may or may not have left these behind, but then when he relearns how to feel and like how he should feel, and that sometimes it's okay to feel, think about, like I've kind of been talking about the masculine and feminine energies too with this. We try to we think we have to polarize ourselves, some of us, and those emotions that can be inflicted with just that thought can be pretty exhaustive, and you kind of have that stage in the fives where you just got to turn your back, but then you're going to get to a place where you're going to see them all again, and you're going to be able to integrate them all again in a space of cooperation and balance and tranquility. Okay, now this is very much a moving away from a situation, right? But if we think, again, we're thinking of this in terms of mentality here, thinking patterns, okay? So if this is cooperation and balance, then this just means that once, okay, again, we're looking at this as a cycle, people. So if he has realized that with his bold nature, he has to get, he's realized over this course of losing these people, to get these people back, or to get back to a place where he, like, picture this as a family, right? But this was that bold nature that set him off, and he's lost a friendship with, or a relationship, if even, with this mentality right here. And so with this card, he's kind of like, you know what, I've got to go off, and I've got to be able to have all of these in a row so that I can move forward. And that's what he's doing. He's got them all in a row, and he's moving forward. So we can kind of think of it in that way, right? So he was able to sustain this relationship because he knew he had to get the swords and really put him in balance. Stop, there's a time to be bold, and then there's a time to be passive, so to speak. Okay. The sevens. Okay. You want to slide everywhere. All right. Now the sevens, according to numerology, is mental perfection, okay? Ooh, see, this is the mental card, right? This doesn't look like perfection. Healing, a drive or a willpower that is controlled and directed. Well, he looks very controlled and directed towards all of these other ones. So that's kind of like strife almost. But it says mental perfection. That's weird. None of these look like mental perfection. But say if this is kind of like, if we were to just plug keywords in here, this would be what? Strife. Okay? But if he's got this sort of drive/willpower that is controlled, and all of these people are trying to wreck that. And he does have enough of willpower and enough confidence to back up whatever's coming at him at this moment. He's got that drive. He's got the determination right here to be the person he needs to be in that moment. That's kind of how I look at that, and we're mixing the two here. Now with this. Now, I like this version, okay, because you can't always tell what his facial expression is in the other versions of this deck, but he kind of looks very much looks unsatisfied. And I've said in a couple of other videos, when you've cultivated, right, and you've done all this work, and you finally get what you think you've been working for, you think that you've been wanting, right, or needing in life, and then you get it, okay, that's very much what this is, and you get it, sometimes it doesn't feel very good. You're like, damn, that was really anticlimactic. And I think that that's what this card is trying to portray. And again, if we look at this in terms of, we're trying to really divide these into their suits, so to speak. So if this is the earthly plane, this is his work. He's done the work, and he's put the work, and it's being cultivated, and he's even in the throes of work right now. But there's a space where the drive he has to do his work is like controlled, right? Like this shovel is very much in the ground right here. And I love how you can kind of map that out right here. But if that's the case, then maybe this card is trying to tell us that everything is going to plan, but then we kind of need to look at it and make sure it really is what we need to be doing to expand, okay? Because like I keep saying, I think that that's the goal for all of these people here. We are trying to expand as humans. So if that's the case, and he's looking very blasé blah, okay, he's looking very kind of lackadaisical here, then maybe the point should be then that he really soul searches and tries to figure out if all of these is what he needs, okay? If this is really what he wants to strive for, or if he wants to start something else, maybe. We'll get to that. All right, this is very much fairy thoughts, okay? What's under the curtain? And if we thought of this in terms of mental perfection, and this is emotions, right? And your cups are all kind of spilling out with all this crap, right? And it's very much crap. When you think of it in terms of that, and you think of the sevens being a step up from the sixes, right? So let's look at the sixes. The guy, right? He went to the town. He really got back in touch with his feelings, so to speak, and he was able to kind of get his inner child, have some fun again, and he really found that in this particular moment. Okay, so then what happened? He got too caught up in this. He realized, he was like, I like this feeling. He became addicted to this feeling, and he can't ground himself. And that's really what this card is telling us, is that we have to come back down from living up in the clouds. It was nice and it was needed and necessary in the moment, but we really do need to come back down to earth, so to speak, and we just need, and see, a lot of times I thought about this just being, you need to make a decision. Pick one. But in terms of numerology, that could be that, right? That we have to come back to ground and get out of the clouds. Okay? Have the control, have the direction to move forward, so to speak, right? Now with this, okay? Again, this is sevens, and he doesn't have all of them here. Like, this just seems like there's two, and he's just completely forgotten about them. Or that he knows they're there, and he's really trying. Okay? That just looks like a lot of thoughts. He's holding on to a lot of those thoughts, and he can't not keep thinking. He's like, oh, I need to think about this one thing. Okay? This is what's keeping you up at night, people. This is what we're leading to. That anxiety, that worry that's just doing this to your, brain, right? And this is trying to warn us. This is kind of like foreshadowing that. Yes, you do have the willpower. You do have the drive, so to speak. The mentality, okay, is pretty good, but you've got a lot going on. You need to take a step back, come back to ground. We're coming back to ground in all of these, I believe. That's what the sevens are saying, okay? If this is mental perfection and a sort of healing, we're healing what? From the sixes, okay? We're healing, it just all seems like too much, right? He has very much, look, he's very much what? He's gone to this place, right? He's like, wait a minute, I've gotten off my boat. I thought everything was genuine, but I need to run with this. I need to run with these thoughts. And that's really not what he needs to be doing in the moment. Okay. It's a long video, folks. It's a long video. All right. The eights. And I wrote way more than I thought I was going to for this number. Now, because when you think about the eights, again, kind of like the sixes, you think about that as 2 4s. So that's just stability on top of stability on top of stability. And it says that this is a power of authority, success. As a multiple of 4, it has similar significance. It's wholeness. When it is on its side, it becomes the symbol of an infinity, right? We all knew that. Signifying no beginning or end. So it's impartiality, or no, impartial wisdom. Ooh. The Chinese believe that the 8 is very lucky and can bring good fortune. Ooh, so let's look at this. Okay. All right. We think of this as, and I very much do agree with Crowley, he put swiftness on his card for this. And I do believe that this is swift action, okay? This is that moment in your life where you need to act fast, or the opportunity is going to go away. So that's that door that's opening, this white, beautiful light is shining through, and you got to walk through it. You have to go, or else the door's going to shut in your face. And we don't want that to happen, right? So if we think of it in terms of that, then we think of this as like it's infinity. So there's no beginning, or if there's no end, and it's bringing us good fortune, right? This very much is swiftness in opportunity, inside the opportunity. We have to take the opportunity, or they're going to pass us by like these wands are. Okay. Now this, he's very much still working, right? If we go all the way back to the 3s, right? He has effectively learned his craft to the point where he doesn't no longer need the instruction booklet, right? He's even gotten away from his town. He's able to go way out by himself and do all this. He doesn't need instructions, right? Well, okay. And if we think of this in terms of an infinity, right? Then he's in that state of, if anything, that makes me think of getting in a rut, right? That if there's no beginning or end to this and what he's doing now, then you're kind of stuck in a rut, right? You are successful, and there's a wholeness there, but then there's an infinity symbol as well, being the 8. So it's almost like, okay, you're successful, you're successful, you should be happy about the success, but you're still kind of stuck in a rut. Again, we're going to get to the rut side of it in a minute. Now him, okay, or her, whoever, they're walking away from all of these cups. Now in terms of 8, right, these don't look very stable. This duo that made this deck didn't put 4 on top of 4. Okay, so what does that make me think of? That makes me think of they had these emotions. Okay, let's look at this one for a second. Okay, this was about, remember we talked about the 7s being coming back to ground and getting right, or a decision has to be made. But then with this card, he's kind of turned that around, and what he done? Instead of coming back to ground, he's just like, okay, forget all of it. I'm just going to go and be alone with my thoughts and emotions and get away from this. Because if this is where I was, if I was very much in the clouds, and I have to get away from the clouds, and I have to come back to ground, so to speak, then that's exactly what I'm going to do. But I've got to leave all my emotions behind. But then what does that do? That kind of is like, there's some shadow aspects, and can be some shadow aspects of that as well. Because if you're going to leave all your emotions to do whatever the hell they are going to do, and then you've kind of become this cynical person, right? The cynical person that thinks that they don't have to feel, that they shouldn't feel because it's just been too much, right? I can't make a decision, blah, 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 right? That's kind of how I think of that. Okay. Now, we all in the tarot community love this card because she just looks so, again, there's some desolation there, but it's open. There's no swords right here. So she can get out anytime, but she doesn't know that in her mind. So this is something that is holding her back, literally holding her back, okay? But she can move forward. She just has to tell her brain that, okay? And I think that the blindness was a great thing to put on this card because it signifies, in my opinion, it signifies that she is very much trapped by all of these thoughts, okay? She is very much trapped. But if she were to tell herself, well, look, I just got to follow the river here and I'll eventually get out, so to speak. Okay, we're talking kind of in terms of picture here. But again, let's think about this in terms of 8. This is a power of authority, success, right? So is she successful? Well, in this particular moment in time, She's stuck in this infinity symbol of her thoughts and she can't get out. So I think that that's what all this is saying, right? I think that that's what these are all saying. They're stuck in the rut of the infinity symbol, okay? And it's going to take that 1 and the 9, that one addition of the 9, to kind of finally pull us out. If it does, we'll get to that, okay? Let's see if it does. Let's see if the rut of the 8s, okay, and all the good that was coming from the 8s, okay? There's some success there, right? But there is some very much some ruts there. Some of these look really good, some of these don't, okay? Now, 9s, reconciliation, completion, in an accomplishment way. Ooh, and it's interesting, okay? But let's look at the keywords for a second. Reconciliation, completion, right? We do kind of think in tarot as the 9s being the actual end and the 10s being that turning point where you kind of have to start all over again to keep going in this cycle of life. And so the 9s are the end. So if we think of it in terms of that, then we think of this in terms of completion along with an accomplishment. But what are we accomplishing? And that's what these cards are going to tell us. These 4 suits, okay? What is he accomplishing? He's accomplishing the fact that he has gotten all of his drive. He still has some, okay? But he's literally beat himself up, okay? If you look at this, if you look at the 8s and the swiftness, he took this advice and he just went for the opportunity, and maybe it kind of beat him up along the way. Maybe it was too fast of a thought, right? But it didn't stop him. It didn't stop him from having the drive. And that was what's most, and that's what he accomplished in here. Is that along with the swiftness and along with that drive that he had to just keep going and go through the door of the opportunity, so to speak, if he took that opportunity, yeah, maybe it was a good or bad thought, but it didn't leave him in a state of, I have no more will, okay? He still has some. And that's a very good accomplishment right there. Now, we all love her because we all want her dress, right? She's got all these beautiful flowers and this beautiful bird. And we think of this in terms of completion, right? And accomplishment. And she very much is in a state of, I believe, in a state of bliss because of the work that she has put forth. She has put the work down on her earthly plane, and she's actually, and see this, her facial expression, unlike the guy in the other card who was cultivating and he looked kind of very rut, he was in a rut. She has gotten herself out of the rut. She's learned, okay, I've got to mix business with pleasure, and I've got to not to forget to have fun sometimes. You know, she's kind of reevaluated her life and then mixed the two of them, and then it's gotten to a place where she can actually feel the contentment that has come with the work and that has come with her success. That's an accomplishment. Him. Now his cups, I always like to look kind of directionally too with a lot of the tarots, not so much Rider-Waite-Smith, but if you look in the cups behind him, right, and that's kind of like, if you think of this in terms of, if you thought of this in terms of shield, okay, then that's kind of like his backbone, and he finally found one in his emotions, and he's finally able to sit here resolute and confident in the fact that he knows himself. That accomplishment right there, he knows himself, he knows his emotions, and he values that about himself. I think that's the accomplishment here that we're feeling in the 9s, okay? Ugh. None of us like this card. And if we think of this in terms of completion, right, and we're about to turn the tide, so to speak, I believe that if we're looking at this in terms of this, those were these thoughts, right? These thoughts that she's trapped by. She's literally, her mind is just trapped with all these, it's like these damn thoughts won't get out of my head, right? And it just keeps churning, right? And keeping her in this loop, right? In this, she thinks that it's trapping her. But then what did that ultimately do? It led to this anxiety-ridden being you have become, okay? So in this moment, your swords, the only purpose that your thoughts are having, the only thing that's accomplishing is it's turning you into this just anxiety-ridden person. And so in this moment, you really need to reconcile, okay? and get back to a state, kind of like it says in India, the nines are the number of the God who will leave the wheel of birth and death. And so if we look at that in terms of kind of like, not duality, but like the eights, that's 2 4s, right? So that's stability on top of stability. And if you think about stability of mind like this in an infinity symbol, you're stuck in the rut, you're stuck in the thoughts, right? And then you need that one more piercing thought, but it's that one more thought that you've added to the pile that you thought you were like, okay, maybe if I just think about this one more time, but then that's what this does to it. You're stuck in this state of anxiety and or even worse, depression maybe, right? I don't know. We're trying to put like brand new meanings onto these cards today. Okay. Last one, people. Okay. Tens. Remember what I said, numerology speaking, the tens aren't the end. The nines were the end. Okay? So what are we going to do right now? We're going to look at them all together. Because I feel like if the nines are the end, we kind of need to look at both of them. Okay? So I'm going to pull these like this. Okay? I'm going to try to do it in a way that we can see all of them. Here's the nines. This is the ending, right? This is the ending, right? These are the ends, okay? Accomplishments, you've got the drive. You still have it no matter what you've gone through. You've been able to get out of your rut in your job and be able to find the balance. Remember, think all the way back to the twos. We knew even then we were going to have to juggle like business or pleasure type of a thing. We knew way back then, again, a foreshadowing card, and we didn't listen in some of the cards, but then we finally did, and this is the result of that. That's a great way to look at it, okay? So, and if he's got a backbone now, emotionally, and she is anxiety ridden. Now, if we take that one step further and we're trying to turn back around and get back to the aces, okay, the bliss that was way back in the aces, in the ones, okay, this unity, so to speak, what happens? Okay, you still have the drive, okay, but if the tens, let's look at tens in terms of numerology for just a second. Closure, great strength, and gain. As a sum of 1, 2, 3, and 4, it is considered the perfect number because it integrates the creation, which is 2, okay? The split, that's movement. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, okay? So it's integrating creation, movement, humanity, okay, and stability. It's in all of those. So I'll say that again. Creation, which is the 1, okay? That's the creation. It starts with 1, okay? It starts with the ace, and then it involves 2, okay? 1 plus 2 is 3, but the 2s would be the movement, okay? Split. Then I guess would be humanity. Humanity would be 3, okay? And then stability is the 4s, and you add all those numbers up, you get the 10. Now this says change and opportunity. We were very much seeing opportunity in the 8s, right? We were seeing some kind of door, especially here. We were seeing some kind of door where we really had to go, okay? We had to have the drive to go and be swift about it, okay? So I thought about the 8s being an opportunity card as well, but if the 10s are change and opportunity, then that's you are trying to change, and there's another opportunity that's going to make you kind of come full circle, and that's the opportunity that we have to grasp here. So let's get rid of the 9s. Let's plug the 10s back in, okay? Now here, with him, he seems very lead-laden, okay? So he's got all this crap on his back, but he's got great strength with that, okay? He was able to take all of the ones that were stuck in the ground and be able to continue on the journey. He's picking them all up to start back at ace. That's where he's going with it. He's going back to that field where it first began, and he's going to start all over again. And if you think about this in terms of like generational, then that's kind of like him coming full circle with showing his son the ropes in the family business. That's what I think of that when I think of that in terms of coming full circle. So he's gotten all of his drive, and then he's going to go back and turn around and then tell his son all that he's learned. Tell me about experience, right? And then that's going to make that son come up, so to speak, and start at the aces. And that's kind of how I think of that in terms of all these tens. It's these people in all these cards are able to turn themselves around and then tell us what they've learned in life and what they've accomplished and how they feel about those accomplishments. Okay? Like this. You very much see this old man petting the dog, and these this couple right here with the children. There's a little child there. I never noticed him before this particular edition came out. Because the first Rider-Waite deck I ever got was like a really bad edition. Now, if this is a sense of closure, then this is, now remember we've got this lady right here, okay? If this is this lady and she's finally figured it out, then she's come back to self and come back to family. Okay, because this is the earthly plane, so this isn't just you, this is you, home, community, whatever. And she's able to expand that to her whole day-to-day home community life, right? And if you watch my Thoth video coming up, or maybe it already passed, then I kind of talk about this in terms of this particular card. I kind of it's in terms of the macro and the microcosm. So the rewards, the work that you put out needs to be groundwork, the work here on the plane, and out this way, out and up. And if you do that, then the rewards will come from down below and above, integrating both, okay, in a space of liminality. And I was kind of talking about this particular card that way in the Thoth deck, and I feel like that's what's going on here. They're able to turn it around. They're one big happy family, in a sense that this little kid right here and this little kid right here and his son in this village or in this house, okay, they're able to start back up at ace. Now what's happening with him? Okay, there's no children in this deck or in this card. And I think, what does that mean? Well, if this was the ending, okay, this anxiety, this depression, that one thought that you had that just set you over the edge, okay, then where's the edge? This is the edge. You stick a fork in me, I'm done. That's what I think about. Like, that's my plug-in definition for this card alone. Now, if this is a sense of closure, then this is that space where you really can't stop your thoughts. You can't, okay? But you have to get here to be able to get back to the ace where you can finally just go, okay, you know what? I have to blank out my mind. I have to. Otherwise, I'm going to stay in this state. Okay? But you have to get to this place mentally. If you're going in that trajectory, you're going to get to a place where it's going to be where you do have that last thought. It sends you over the edge, but you know you can't stay here. So you have to come, kind of, it's like you have to come full circle. And a lot of us, I said in my like a way other video about the power that lies within you isn't the power, is the power to shut your mind off, okay? Sometimes you need to be able to deal with your own silence. And a lot of us don't have that, and a lot of us don't have that kind of drive or that willpower to get that kind of stuff done. And so I believe that in closing, we're having to utilize all these, okay? We're us as people, this is the goal. Okay? Or these are the goals, right? We don't want this one as a goal, but we do need to get to a place mentally where we are in a sense of, we need to be gaining something from our thoughts, right? It needs to be our thought patterning and our mentality. It kind of needs to help us along the way. If our thought patterning isn't actually doing anything for us, then we have to change the way we think, right? Okay. Well, I loved looking at numerology this way. Like I said, my videos, I hope this was informative and I hope it was fun. And I'm so glad that everyone decided to join me on this journey. Okay, so much love.